Ruthie, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, make sure you hit subscribe and ring the notification bell and you'll get a little notification whenever I make a new video. So, in today's video, I'm going to respond to some comments in past videos that I haven't gotten to yet, and we'll see what else comes out. I've been going through some major life changes that I will probably share in a month or so once it's okay for me to talk about it. The change that's coming up is going to allow me to make a lot more videos. So in a month, I will be laser focused on creating more content for this page. Thank you again for your patience. It's been a rough start to the new year. So firstly, I wanted to make sure to address Mike's comment on one of my past videos. So Mike, you were asking for more stories and experiences of what goes through my head when I'm deciding to hold in farts and any advice of what to do if someone is not nice about your bodily functions. So I think I touched on most of the stories that I have relating this subject so far, but there is more I can share about things that have helped me overcome a lot of these fears. So as I've said in other videos, I've had embarrassment and shame around pooping and farting since, as long as I can remember. My mom even said that when I was in diapers, I would go behind a chair to squat and poop. So I think it's like a very primal thing for me, and I know a lot of people. But the main narrative that's always been in my head is that if I were to fart or poop in front of someone, the sky would fall and everyone would hate me and find out I'm disgusting and I would have no friends. That's like the general vibe. Like I said, doing things like this, talking about it to strangers and to my loved ones, being very open about it is the thing that's helped me the most, because shame really lives in the dark. So if there's something that's happening in your life that you're really ashamed about, it can be incredibly scary and feel like the last possible option to do is to talk about it. But talking about it is really the only antidote, I think, to shame. So your awareness acts as a light, and as soon as you bring awareness to those darker areas, you shine the light in the dark, then it gets brighter, and darkness can't really exist as much with the presence of your awareness and self-compassion. So I think the most helpful thing is to keep reminding yourself that you are not even close to alone in having these thoughts, and that every person has these thoughts for the most part, besides a few exceptions, and a lot of people who are faking it till you make it, So I mentioned before how I've had reoccurring nightmares for a very long time about anything bathroom related. So either not being able to find a toilet when I have to go, or the only toilet I find is disgusting, or the only toilet is like in a room full of people and I have to use it anyway. So I'm going to tell you the story about how I got those nightmares to go away for a while. They are back now, but I might have actually mentioned this in another video, but I don't think so. So whatever, I'm just going to say it anyway. So one of my friends has some property upstate in New York, and it's just property. That's what it is. And we were going up there to camp. So there's really nothing nearby. The only things that were there were the things that we brought there. I really wanted to go on this trip. All my friends were going. It seemed like a really fun time. But my first instinct was, hell no, I can't go. There's no bathrooms. There's literally nothing. Not even like a hole or a bucket. It's just the woods. So I was like, I can't go. I kept telling myself, like, it's not going to happen. I can't do it. How could I do that? The closer it got to the time to go, I really just wanted to go camping. I wanted to be with my friends. I wanted to be in the woods. I wanted to get out of the city. So I told myself that if I didn't go on this camping trip purely because of the bathroom, then I'm letting my fear of pooping, I'm letting colitis and IBD, I'm letting that win, and I'm giving that all of the power. And I refuse to let IBD rule my life. IBD already rules my life, so I really try to make it a point to control what aspects of my life it rules. And I've accepted that it's gonna rule a fair amount of it. But when it comes to having fun with my friends and being in nature and going camping, I'm just like, I just need to get over it. it's going to be really scary at first. And I honestly, looking back, I'm like, how did I do that? But I was just like, fuck it, let's go. I went. I pooped in the woods for like 3 or 4 days and nights. I had like my wet wipes and toilet paper, and I survived. I did it, and it was fun. It was a really great trip. I felt really connected to nature, and I was really surprised on how easy it was to like, I don't know, I felt like a dog, like sniffed out a good tree and found it and crouched behind it and, you know, make sure it's all going downhill and all that. But yeah, I did that. And then once I got back from camping, I didn't have nightmares about toilets for a really long time. I think honestly close to a year. I don't know when they really came back. And I don't have them like every night now, but they definitely show up on occasion. But I think what happened there was that my subconscious realized that even if I can't find a toilet, I'm gonna be okay and I can still go to the bathroom and I'm not gonna be stranded or in this horrible situation. Like, I can survive. I can poop in the woods and it's okay. Another thing that kind of happened like that was I was at a party in Bushwick area in Brooklyn, and there was one bathroom. The line was going to take a lot more time than it was going to take for the poop to exit my body. So I went out onto the streets behind a dumpster and I sat down and I shit in the streets. And I always keep like wet wipes in my purse or like tissues like at all times, like just in case something like that has to happen. And I was very grateful that I did this on that night. And that's another situation where I was like, okay, sometimes you really just gotta like confront your fears head on, because the fear of the thing is usually like 99% of the time worse than the actual thing you're afraid of. And you can spend all this time and build up all this anxiety about all the what ifs. But if that situation is presented in your face and you have no option, then you survive. You do it and it's fine. And you realize you didn't die, and you realize you feel a lot better because now you don't have that fear of all the what ifs. It's just, if it happens, I'm going to make it through. And this idea is something I've been working a lot with in therapy, of coping ahead. So if you're in a very anxious state and having a lot of what if fears that are just constantly on your mind, something that can be really helpful is to schedule out a block of time that's your worry time. You sit down and write down every single thing that is on replay in your head, all of the what ifs, all the fears, all of the things causing your anxiety. And then you list down all of the horrible things that you've lived through and that you've survived. All of those like, oh my God, I'm gonna die if this happens, and then it happens and then it's fine. Like for me, pooping in the woods, or not being able to get into the bathroom at a party. Things like that that are irrationally on my head at times when they really shouldn't be, and like seeping into the rest of my life. So looking at those two lists next to each other, and with that second list, really reminding yourself of everything that you've already overcome, of how resilient you already are. Understanding that even if something moves from that fear list to the I've overcome this list, you're gonna still be here. You're going to survive. Even if something really horrible happens and it feels like the end of the world, remember that that feeling is temporary. Remember that all feelings are temporary. One of my biggest fears is embarrassment, and I think a lot of people would say the same thing. It's probably the worst feeling ever, especially because my face turns bright red when I'm embarrassed and I can't hide it at all. Like I remember in school, my face would turn red because I'd get embarrassed about something. And then someone would point it out, oh, Ruthie's face is getting red. And then it would get even redder because I know everyone's looking at my red face and making me more embarrassed. And it's just like, oh my God, it's like mortifying just thinking about it. But that happened and I'm still here. It's okay. And like these embarrassing things and awful things, they build character. They make you an interesting person. They give you more levels to your personality. And uncomfortable things are obviously uncomfortable, but discomfort equals growth. We have to remember that. We have to like drill that into our heads, because if you truly understand the meaning of that, you'll start to seek discomfort, and you'll want to start conversations with someone about something that you don't know so that you can learn about it. and it won't feel as uncomfortable. It'll just feel like, ooh, I didn't know that. A perfect example of this is ignorance with cultures. Another fear of mine is being seen as a basic white girl American, because that's like what I am. But like, I don't want to be that at all, and I want to be more cultured, and I want to respect other cultures, and I want to learn about things that I don't know about. And actually, just this morning, an old friend of mine, I don't think she's going to watch this, but Jessie, if you're watching this, hi. I posted a picture of myself in what I thought was my mom's kimono, but she commented on it that, in fact, this was not a kimono. Kimonos are Japanese, and it was a kipao, I believe it's pronounced. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Kipao. Q-I-P-A-O. Kipao. It's a kipao jacket. I felt very mortified. I mean, one of my best friends is Chinese. I love Chinese culture, and I want to honor it, but it was really just like I wasn't thinking about it at all. My entire life, I've seen this kimono that my mom has, and I've just always called it that. And I really wasn't thinking when I posted it, but then when she called me out for that, I was like, oh no, like I just look so ignorant, and like I don't want to disrespect Chinese culture by like lumping it together with Japanese culture. And I made the correction. I apologized. I thanked her for letting me know in that really nice and caring way, because I know that some people wouldn't be so kind about it and they would be rude, because I've seen it happen to other people. And actually, she just responded right now and said, no worries, you didn't know. So that makes me feel a little better. So that's just an example of an uncomfortable situation that now is showing me where I have room for growth. I was making assumptions about something that's been in my life for forever, and it was a wrong assumption. And then it makes me think of what other things I'm assuming wrong. And it makes me just be a little bit more careful and conscientious about what I'm putting out there and the words that I'm using and how other people might see them or take them in. I'm really working on this feature of mine, but I am a people pleaser by nature. I really want people to like me, and a little part of me dies when I realize someone doesn't like me. I'm really just trying to drill it through my head that not everyone is going to like me. In fact, some people are going to hate me. I'm going to really rub people the wrong way. And that's going to be okay. Because at the end of the day, everyone is so incredibly different. So if I'm pleasing everyone, then I'm really not being myself. And I'm being fake, because in order to please everyone, I'm going to have to mold myself to what that person likes. And that's what I have done a lot in the past. Just by nature, I haven't really thought too much about it. I just want interactions to be pleasant, and I can read people pretty well. So when I'm with someone, I can be like, oh, they would probably enjoy this conversation more if I was this, without like saying that exact thing. I'm starting to realize that I naturally do that, and I don't really want to do that. So a lot of that people-pleasing nature is really fake, and it sort of erases opportunities to learn about things and grow, because part of that is an agreeable nature and agreeing with what the person's saying right away, even if I don't agree. And if I'm honest about not agreeing, then we have more of an opportunity to have a conversation, and that person can maybe shine a light on their point of view and how they got to their conclusion of the thing, and vice versa. So something I wrote down in my can't sleep thoughts thing on my phone. I've realized that my actions show me as comfortable pretending that I know what's going on when I don't. I will think more, but I don't think I like that about myself. And yeah, I've thought more about it. I don't like that about myself. This has been a lot more prevalent lately with politics and the current state of America. And if someone's trying to have a conversation with me about it, I can very easily just like agree and be like, I know, like that's insane, like that's crazy, I hate that. But like in reality, I have no idea what they're talking about, or I don't know what the event is, because paying attention to politics really just hurts my soul. I mean, right when the Capitol was stormed, I was like glued to the news and couldn't stop watching for a few days, and then I remembered why I don't follow politics. So, I mean, I go through stages of like really following it and really being passionate, and then just like not being able to, which is another quality I don't really like about myself, because I would like to be the kind of person who has the bandwidth to fight for people's rights and to fight for what is right. And I'm working on it. I'm going to be patient with myself with that, because that is like a very lifelong thing. And I think me noticing that activism is something that I am interested in becoming a part of is a really big step, because I've never felt that way before at all. But the first step of activism has to be education, because I refuse to be that person who goes into being an activist on something that you don't really know that much about. So I'm working on the education part, I'm working on getting my life together. But yeah, I don't even know how I started talking about that. Another thing I wanted to do in this video is read this post that just really resonated so hard with me. Ulceraticecolitiswarrior on Instagram, I will put a screenshot of her page up here, made this beautiful post that really just resonated so hard with me. So, one of my biggest struggles with IBD has been grief. I'm not grieving for the loss of a family member, a friend, or a loved one. I'm grieving the loss of myself. I was born with an incredible urge and desire to be social and active. It was a huge part of who I was, what made me, me. When I felt sick, I had no idea that I was about to slowly watch that person I had once been fade away. I became quiet and reserved and unable to leave the house. I watched as my friends, peers, and family carried on with their lives, making memories and strides as my illness robbed me of mine. I sat bitterly observing and praying for my chance. Everyone seemed to have hope that I would get better, and for a while I did too. Then a year went by with no improvement, then 2, then 5, then 7, then 8. And in those years of being chronically ill and disabled, I began to forget the girl who died. I started to forget what life was like without pain, repression, anxiety, and depression. I was beginning to give up hope that I would ever be healthy again. And so I became an incredible actor, pretending to be okay with my circumstances and who I had become. I began to live simply because those around me wanted me to, and for them, I survived. But I found someone that gave me purpose and hope once again. Slowly, we healed together. I became reintroduced to who I was. I felt free, unshackled from the disease that once defined me. I was overjoyed to begin living again, to chase all the dreams that were once so far out of reach. 8 years imprisoned in my own body, and I finally got to meet who I could be without my illness. It wasn't long before I went back into a flare, and over the course of a few months, as my medication stopped working, I slowly watched the person whom I've come to love so dearly succumb to the death of my illness once again. And this time, I remembered clearly what and who I'd lost. And honestly, I'm terrified that I'll never heal, that I'll be held back from achieving the things my heart longs and desires for. But mostly, I'm mournful for the girl that I so momentarily got to meet. I love you, and I hope to meet you again someday. Shout out to Summer Robinson, ulcerative colitis warrior. That post really just says it all for me. Living with a chronic illness, whatever it is, living with chronic pain, it really shapes who you are. And it does make you mourn the loss of who you could have been without it. But something that I've been reminding myself over this 9 years that I've had this illness, 10 now. I think it's 10 years now. Oh my God. So yeah, something I've been reminding myself is that I love who I am. I love all the layers to me. I love that I can feel people who've experienced grief and hard times and understand them and really be there for them. And I also love that I can experience high joys because of the lows that I've felt. The grief that chronic illness gives you is heavy. It's extremely heavy. But I think artists are the most interesting people in the world. And grief and pain and shame, that is an avenue to art. And alone time is also an avenue to art. So if you are living with a chronic disease, then your task in this life, or at least during the time that you're suffering, is to create art from it, whatever that looks like to you. Art is like basically anything. I really think that art is a way of doing things. I think it's more of a verb than like a thing. Because I think a lot of people, when you say the word art, is just thinking of like painting or drawing, which of course that is art. But it's also music, it's singing, it's writing, it's cooking, it's dancing. It's like, honestly, it could be anything. It's just the way that you do it. It's doing it with your whole soul. It's expressing your soul how it wants to be expressed. Especially when you're handed really heavy things such as grief and shame and pain and like deep physical pain, then releasing that in an artful way is so incredibly healing, and it makes you feel like there's a purpose to your pain. Because there is. I'm definitely someone who believes that there is a purpose to everything that happens, and that includes painful, awful things. And we just got to keep that hope until we find it. And actually, I will now read a post that I made for my Patreon originally, but I put a version of it on Instagram after this whole Capitol mess. Here we go. USA has shown its colors and they're ugly as fuck. That probably wasn't necessary. Unexpected and overdue. Divisive and unifying. Numbing and stimulating. Paradoxes everywhere. Here's a reminder to myself and to you that things are never only one way. It's easy to take things as they appear. Something bad happens, and that's it. It was bad and only bad. And during times like now, that's an even easier stance to take. But being stuck in a world of extremes is not a happy place to be. It feels like me against the world, everyone on teams, and I have to pick one or else I'm not playing the game right. I think this feeling is a trick. When we take the time to see another side's perspectives, we create space for patience and understanding. We must honor our first reactions, be upset when something upsetting happens, but we cannot stop there. There are always positives to take from pain, no matter how long they take to be presented. It could be many trying years before we see silver linings, but holding trust that something positive will come can make that time more bearable. All we can control is our reactions. We can fight against it and ignore it, or we can look it dead in the face and walk toward it bravely, which is not an easy task. It may require you to fake it for some time while you gain the courage. It will require you to shed a lot of tears, talk and journal, be brutally honest with yourself, accept that you may not have all the pieces to see a situation clearly, or you may just be wrong altogether. It takes a brave heart to not look away from ugly truths. It takes time, patience, and compassion. I'm not claiming I know exactly how or always do any of this, but I try my damn hardest to do this, and when I do, it feels like the right way to be. My heart feels heavy, it feels natural to numb out and look away, but I'm challenging myself to take that as a cue to look inward instead. Keep the hope that in the end, peace will prevail. This week has been another reminder that we need each other, now and forever. So, that felt really good to write because, like I said, it really was a reminder to myself and to others that there is always positive on the way. All good things are always on the way. And that is a completely true statement. Because if you think about all the good things that are going to happen in the future, without a doubt, there will be good things that happen in your personal life, in the world, etc. They are all on the way because they're not happening yet. So they're coming. They're just not here yet. Yes, you can look at that as all bad things are on the way too, but it's like that's where you have the choice. It's seeing the glass half full or half empty, and it takes training. I've said it in another video, I will link it below, talking about optimist training. I don't think people who are extremely optimistic are naturally that way, because people would categorize me as being optimistic, but I don't feel that way at my core. It takes constant reminding and work to be that way. It's brain training. You really just got to train your brain to think the way that you want to think and to feel the way that you want to feel. And it's really hard, and you have to be easy on yourself, and you have to be patient. You can't be like, I'm going to be a happy person, so I'm going to like do these things for this week, and then if it doesn't work, it's stupid. It's like, no, you have to make it through all the ups and downs. Yep. So another solid tidbit that was brought up to me by an IBD person I'm messaging with, Josh, is farting positions. And I honestly hadn't really thought too much about it until he brought it up. But when he did bring it up, I realized that's absolutely true with me too. I can't fart in any position. I really have to be trying to and be very conscious about it. Like, it doesn't just come out of me unless I'm on the toilet. And on the toilet, I have to have my feet propped up with a yoga block or your squatty potty or whatever. I have to be in that like hunched over position. And often what I do is abdominal massage. I'll put links to abdominal massage videos down below because I'm not a doctor. I don't really know exactly how to do it, but I just kind of feel my own body and kind of move things around as it feels good. So I'll either have an open hand or a fist, and I'll just start like kind of like you're kneading dough. Just start pressing and kind of rolling, going clockwise around my navel. That helps with constipation, but if you go counterclockwise, that'll help with diarrhea. And that could even be done just with rubbing. It doesn't have to be like pushing in. But like for me, when I'm constipated, I can like really like make myself go to the bathroom by massaging my abdominal in that way. But what Josh was mentioning was that it's a lot easier to fart when you're laying down on your stomach, and 1,000%. Like if I start getting gas pains in the middle of the night, I roll over to sleep on my stomach, which honestly is usually the most comfortable position for me to sleep in anyway. Not necessarily for my neck, but for my stomach, it really is. And all the gas will just come out almost right away as soon as I'm laying down on my stomach. Also, torso twists are really helpful. I have a video on YouTube actually that's emergency gas pain relief, and it's I think like 10-minute like yoga sequence that help relieve gas pain. So I will link that down below too. So maybe I'll do some more research from doctors about abdominal massage and share that with you guys in a future video. If you're interested, let me know. I'm pretty sure, as with most things, it's probably intuitive, but I don't want to tell you the wrong thing and have you mess anything up in your stomach. I don't think that's really possible, but just to be safe, I'll do some research and let you know. So another question that was posed to me was more about ostomy bags and talking about drinking alcohol with an ostomy and going to the bathroom with an ostomy, and like, can you feel it coming out of the stoma? So when I had my ostomy, I was drinking alcohol because I really just hated my life and I was partying a lot. As I've mentioned before, I was just kind of didn't want to participate in life in a totally present way. So I was drinking alcohol. I remember my tolerance was super low. I've always been a lightweight though, so I'm not really sure how different that actually was because of the ostomy, but I remember it did loosen the output a lot. I would never drink beers or anything, mostly just like wine or like vodka or something. But I remember if I was drinking, the bag would fill up quicker and the output would be looser. But everyone's body is really different, so I mean, just take that with a grain of salt. That's what my experience was. Yours could be very different. Another person's could be very different from both of us, so that was just what happened to me. As far as could I feel the output coming out, you can. It feels very strange, and there's something that feels like really good about it. I remember it was weird, but my skin was really prone to being irritated by the output, so sometimes it would really hurt when it would come out. Or maybe if you eat like citrusy foods or spicy foods, maybe that would make it hurt. Or anything like nuts and seeds related, I know you should definitely stay away from. But maybe I had some of that, and that's what caused some of the pain a few times. I definitely wouldn't say the majority was painful, but I do remember having pain when it would come out sometimes. But I also remember it feeling kind of good. So I don't know. Again, take that all with a grain of salt. Everyone's experience is going to be different. I hope that was enough elaboration and stories for you, but if you have any other questions or any other ideas for future videos, as always, just let me know and I will be sure to address it eventually. Thank you for your patience with me, for real. It means a lot. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video!